to wrap up, I think it's useful for us to step back a minute and just think about the title of the panel we just did, Empowering Women and Girls. Because so often, there is this set of issues that we refer to as women's issues. And we talk about female empowerment as if it's solely about lifting up women and girls. But whether it's equal pay or family leave or any other so-called women's issue, the truth is that while these issues disproportionately affect women, they can be devastating for men and boys too. When women are still paid just 80 cents on the dollar of what men earn, that means less income for their families, which affects their husbands and their sons too. When women who don't have paid maternity leave have to take a salary hit for having the audacity to give birth, and they have to rush back to work when they have barely healed from labor, that hurts the child they give birth to, whether that child is a boy or a girl. And if they have a partner, that hurts that partner too, whether that person is a man or a woman. And the truth is that we can't talk about breaking down barriers for women and girls until we talk about breaking down barriers for men and for boys as well. For example, if we don't address the culture of masculinity that says that it's not manly for men to do half the childcare or housework, or that a man who stays home to raise his kids while his partner works isn't a real man, we are not going to solve our work-family balance crisis. And while it is great that we're pushing girls to study science and math so that they're prepared for the tech and engineering jobs that companies are struggling to fill, let's also remember that one of the fastest growing occupations, one with a serious shortage of workers, is nursing. And if we still have this outdated idea that nursing is women's work and that being a nurse isn't manly, we are not going to fill these critically important jobs. So I think a more accurate title for this panel might be something like How Empowering Women and Girls and Fighting Gender Stereotypes Empowers Us All. Now, we absolutely need to keep calling out the biases and the double standards that we have for women in our society, and there are plenty of them. But I also recently read an article about why fewer women than men run for political office. And it was really interesting. It said that right now, women hold fewer than 25%, hold fewer than 25% of elected political positions in America. But when women do run, the studies show that they actually don't have a harder time fundraising, and believe it or not, media coverage against them was not biased. So why don't women run? The study found, and I quote, that women consistently underestimate their qualifications and their chances of winning, and they overestimate the bias that they will face. In addition, family members, co-workers, and party officials are actually less likely to encourage women to run. So my takeaways from this are that women need to dig deep and find the confidence to put ourselves out there. And we cannot sit around and just wait for others to encourage us. We have to encourage ourselves. This is what trailblazing women have always done. I think back when Mae Jemison was a girl in the 1960s, people were not exactly banging down her door and urging her to dream of going into space. But at some point, she must have decided, this is what an astronaut looks like an African-American woman, and I am going to do this. I think a lot of folks in Pakistan weren't exactly cheering her on as Malala Yousafzai fought for girls to go to school. In fact, terrorists actually tried to kill her for it. But she looked inside of herself and she said, no, I deserve an education as much as any boy. And she won a Nobel Prize for her efforts. And I know that finding this kind of courage isn't easy. There will always be haters and interrupters out there. But a woman who I deeply admired once gave some pretty good advice about that. She said, when they go low, we go high. And I want to be clear, that was her line entirely. She came up with it. I just typed it in the speech. But it is great advice, and I think that all of us, men and women, would be very wise to take it. Thank you so much.